Looking good.
Yeah.
All right, call it to order.
Call to order. Today's meeting. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Chris Kriesbaum,
Here.
Joe Gomestagel is absent. Paul Hobbs,
Here.
Drago Popovic is absent. John Gill is here. Attorney Adam Decker.
Here?
All right, we have a quorum.
Meeting minutes, February 7th, 2024. Board of Zoning Appeals, regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 7th Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Aye.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, those pass.
I will move to the public hearings. A, 2024-04 development variance from STJNC 24-125 D2 to allow the construction of a fence that crosses the 30-foot building line at 9943 Wisteria Lane, St. John, Indiana. Greg Johnson is the applicant and owner.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can come up to the podium and we'll make sure.
So what we want to do is, because of the configuration of our lot, we're on a corner of a cul-de-sac. So when we put the fence up last year, we stayed to the variance of 30 feet off the crown of the sidewalk going around the cul-de-sac. So we have a fence that is basically straight in the back, but comes at like a severe 45-degree angle. All we want to do is straighten that out so we basically can make an L shape out of the backyard. So we just want to basically incorporate more of the side yard. Should I go over there and show you kind of what we're doing?
That's fine.
Well, basically, because we have this huge side yard on the cul-de-sac, we have to put in like this and then straight back. All we want to do is take this line and make it square to here. So we're just going to incorporate this much more of our side yard, but unfortunately, this now becomes encroaching on the 30-foot original variance. So if we move this fence to be a straight line, we'll be about 10 feet from the sidewalk. So that's kind of what we're looking to get done. That's just more to incorporate more of our yard into our backyard. So that's what we're looking for.
Any questions?
No, what are you saying? Our ordinance doesn't allow you to cross the building line, which follows the right-of-way and the property lines. So he's just looking to cross that 30-foot building line that's 30 foot back off the sidewalk, and it follows the sidewalk, which follows the right-of-way.
Right. And
Correct.
it'd still be 10 foot off of the sidewalk.
Well,
Yeah.
still, yeah. I think when I've talking to the building department, they said you can get within 8 feet of the crown of the sidewalk, but we're going to be at least 10 feet off the sidewalk. So we're still, like I said, it's just to incorporate more of our, unfortunately, because of the layout of the property on that cul-de-sac corner, we're just trying to get more of that side yard into the backyard.
Maybe similar to corner houses. with sidewalk. They might.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Call a motion.
I'll I'll make a favorable.
Oh, we gotta.
No,
we
I'm
gotta-
sorry, Mr. Chairman. We need to conduct a public hearing, so you need to open the floor to public hearing at this time.
Okay, sorry. I'll open the floor at this time, to public hearing. I'm gonna open the floor to public hearing at this time.
Final call for, comments.
Final call on comments?
You can close the hearing, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm gonna close the hearing.
Any public remonstrances? Any?
We did not receive any for this one, nope.
Now I'm gonna make a favorable motion.
I second that.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. So, Mr. Chair, generally, because you're the chair of the meeting, motions have to be made by other persons other than the chair of the meeting. So
Okay.
that would be Mr. Hobbs, or that's just one of Robert's rules of orders.
Okay,
But
Make a favorable motion for this.
I'll second that.
Mr. Chair, I would ask that as part of the motion, that the specific findings be read into the record to approve this variance. That should be included in the packet. It was also sent in some information I sent to each of the members last week about the specific findings that are required to approve a variance from the development standards. If you look to your packet, let's see, I think that's included. Is it included in the packet?
I don't think she did put it.
Okay, it
I
does
have
not
one
appear to
here.
have been included in your packet, so. Yeah.
okay, upon the review of the proposal for development, technical variance filed by Greg Johnson, the St. John Board of Zoning Appeals, after having given due consideration to those matters listed in the St. John zoning ordinance number 1483, as amended from time to time and after given due consideration to IC 36-7-4-918.5, having paid reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan of the town of St. John, does hereby make the following findings fact. Approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. That the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
Mr. Chair, the third finding requires that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the
Okay.
use of the property. That's one of the requirements for the request for the variance.
Okay. So I'll restate that. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. There's no conditions or contingencies at this time. Accordingly, the Board of Zoning Appeals approves the development technical variance as aforesaid.
Mr. Chair, the motion has been made, and there's been a second. You may call the vote.
I'll call the vote. We're in favorable motion.
Yes, I believe the motion was to approve the variance request. So
Correct.
this would be a motion, the ayes would be in favor of the variance, the nays would be opposed, and it requires a unanimous vote.
And I vote yea.
Well, yeah, just go ahead and call the vote, and so how that's done is, I would suggest you simply say, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 It appears that the ayes have it, Mr. Chair, and the variance has been approved.
Okay. Okay, we'll move to the next item. Okay, B, 2024-08 development variance from STJMC 24-94 and STJMC 24-461B to exceed the existing 718 square feet of additional accessory buildings and use by an additional 2,400 square feet of a 60-foot by 40-foot accessory structure at 12790 West 93rd Avenue, St. John, Indiana. Cesar A. Flores Perez is an applicant owner.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, I'm trying to get a permit for a 40 times 60. Well, first of all, I thought it was a gazebo, but then they say like a pavilion because it's exceeding the measurements. So, as you can see, I mean, I got plenty land, almost 3 acres. So, I don't think it will affect nothing on the property. And the reason that I want to do that because I have I can say a big family. My kids, I got 4 kids and my daughter. So I'm planning to use that for the summer, like just to hang around with the family. There is no electricity going in that construction. Pretty much that's it.
So intended use is obviously for parties, things of that nature.
Hi, I'm here to help Mr. Flores out. My name's Paul Perek, I'm an attorney over in Dyer. I think what he's basically trying to communicate is the fact that it's more of like a picnic structure that we used to see in all the old parks. It's just going to be a roof with no sides. There's no electrical improvements. There's no utility lines like gas being run to it. The size of it, he's talked with the people at Menards. They've given him drawings and given him cost estimates in terms of what it's going to cost to actually put the structure up. I actually went out there for the first time this afternoon just to take a couple of pictures. The adjoining property to the east is farm field. The nearest homes are probably greater than 300 feet away from this particular location. So setbacks in terms of the property aren't an issue. I think it for purposes of getting the special use variance, obviously needs to do that. I took a look at the St. John Code for 24-94 about accessory uses and buildings, and obviously the size of the building he's contemplating exceeds that, so he needs to have that variance apply in this particular circumstance. I believe he submitted some plats. He does have the original plats of surveys when he purchased this home about approximately a year ago. So if the gentleman would like to see these in addition to what he's already submitted, what I saw is a sketch where he actually draws, not very well, I gotta tell you, I was an art student too in high school and I was bad, but tries to draw the basic rectangular features of it to give an idea exactly where he's gonna put it. And so it's not gonna cause any type of a problem with any adjoining properties. I don't believe there's been any remonstrances, but that's obviously something.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
been
there have,
one,
okay.
yes.
Then I stand corrected.
The property's neighboring to the west, am I correct?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and I have it up, we can read it into record when we open the public hearing.
I guess to that extent, we'd probably need to hear what the remonstrators say to see whether or not this is something that can actually obtain a variance so he can construct his, I call it a picnic structure, but I'm not sure what label you gentlemen would put on that.
Then the letter was in here,
No, I'll pull it up on the screen.
pull it up.
Yep. You want to open the public hearing and then we can read that?
Yeah,
Okay.
open up public hearing. at this time.
Oh.
Hello. I'll read the remonstrance letter. Dear Sir or Madam, this is in regard to the proposed variance for Cesar A. Flores Perez, BZA 2024-08, for the property located at 12790 West 93rd Avenue, St. John, Indiana. Ordinance STJMC 24-94 and STJMC 24-461B. We regretfully cannot agree to this variance to the ordinance. We feel the structure is too large a variance to STJMC 24-94, which is 250 square feet maximum. At 2,400 square feet, it will be almost 10 times the allotted size. The size of the structure would be bigger than many of the structures at our town parks. We are also concerned that a structure of this size would be used for events, gatherings of over 100 people, and will lead to excessive noise in our Shilton Hills neighborhood. Thank you for your consideration on this matter. Beverly and Michael Barbush, 9241 Franklin Drive, St. John, Indiana, 4637. Residents since 1990.
Is that the one remonstrance?
Yes.
Okay. So is the concern then of the board the actual size of the structure itself?
Yes.
Is there a compromise amount of space that the board would be willing to provide a variance for if it was cut down from the projected 40 by 60 to something less?
With the, what do you think about that?
To meet the town's plans.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, have to meet the town's
Okay.
ordinances.
All right. So Mr. Flores should resubmit another contemplated structure, and we're going to have to go through the same process for that purpose, and then have the folks with the town take a look at that to see, and then, I guess, again, see if there's any remonstrances. The idea here is he has a large family, there's a large family unit that's in the Chicagoland area. It's going to be used in the summer months only. It's not going to be used any other time of the year. It's not going to be used for any special events. These are not party goers. Mr. Flores is the father of 4 children, young children.
And then again, it's still a permanent structure, which allows,
Yeah.
you know,
And also, he has legally non-conforming 718 square feet of an accessory building, which is the block storage building shown on there, which we only allow in our current zoning ordinance 250 square feet maximum. So his legal non-conforming structure is already over that maximum, so he wouldn't be able to do anything without a variance,
Right.
which is what he's seeking now.
Correct.
and
That's,
obviously residents neighboring this property are already concerned about it.
okay. So I guess just looking for a little direction, if I can discuss with Mr. Flores to see something about a smaller structure that would take into consideration, the letter's no longer up, Marbury, I think it was, Mr. and Mrs. Marbury?
Yeah,
Barbush.
Barbush, my apologies, yeah. I got a tough last name, I hate to mispronounce stuff, so.
You got it, you can talk to me personally, I'm right here,
Oh, okay.
so you don't have to beat around the bush.
I'm not trying to beat around the bush, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, if the structure size would be cut down, is that something that you would find?
I'll wait till you finish your comment.
Well,
So,
my
Mr.
comment
Chair,
is that-
this is not a negotiation.
Correct.
No, this is, there's been, I don't know, I don't think public hearing has been closed yet, so public hearing is still open at this point. So if there's anybody who wants to address the BZA, they may approach the podium and do so.
Would anyone like to approach the BZA?
Yeah, no, leave it there, it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah, this is us, and this is an unfortunate way to meet you as a neighbor. We don't see you.
Ma'am,
Ma'am.
please step to the
Podium.
microphone.
Just for you, yeah.
Please state your name and your
Hi, my
address.
name is Beverly Barbush. I live at 9241 Franklin Drive, St. John, Indiana. And we live like kitty corner away, at some of his properties behind us. And we're just really concerned that this type of thing is is going to be, every weekend loud music and parties and things of that sort, of that nature. I wouldn't be opposed to a smaller structure of some sort, but 40 by 60 is the size of a house. So I'm just really concerned with how many people that would bring in and noise level, really, because I'm just directly behind you. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
That's the only remonstrance as far as
Correct, yeah.
been received.
That we received, yep.
So I guess in terms of guidance for Mr. Flores, if he comes back to the BZA with a different size structure, basically go through the same procedures, talk with the Marburys and see whether or not something like that might be acceptable to them, because it appears that they're the ones that have an issue with regards to it, which I respect. Or Marbush, gotta get. Because as it stands right now, there's not going to be a positive vote on it, so he needs to reconsider the size in order to meet the,
Well, as was stated, he already exceeds that with the buildings that are on his property, correct?
Yeah, correct. With our codes now, yep.
yeah. Because
At this moment, he can't technically build anything.
Right, because it's 718 square feet of,
you're talking about the structure that's in the back of the, towards the back of the property?
yeah, that's legal non-conforming. It's 718 square feet, and he's only allowed 250.
I think that was something that was obviously
It
not
was-
constructed by him.
Right, it was already there, legal
Yeah. I think
non-conforming, but now
from the looks
that's.
of it, it looks like it's been there for a couple decades.
Correct, yeah, but then that eats up all of his allowed accessory structure square footage, which would be 250 square feet if there was nothing, no
What did
outbuildings.
you, what did you say the size of that was, sir? The size of the
Oh, it's 718 square feet.
So can he come with a broader type of variance request for a smaller structure for the actual picnic structure, and then try to make corrections? I don't know how he's gonna make corrections if it's illegal non-conforming. I mean, it was there when.
Right,
Short
so,
of
but his
demolishing it.
variance would encumber the 718 and then the additional that he's asking for.
So the variance would have to accommodate all that.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, I think that's the course that he has to take. And I guess he's going to put a new submission in and hopefully come before you gentlemen with a package that's going to be acceptable, and he could grant him the variance he's requesting. Is there any other information that you would generally request of him that we can fulfill, that any questions that you have?
So, Mr. Chair, you may consider, any further public comment, and then you may close the public hearing, and then consider any motions that might be made.
Okay. All right, does anybody want to make any more public comment in regard to this?
Okay, here, step back.
I'm the other one on this, basically my thing is,
Sir, please state your name and your
okay,
address.
Michael Barbush, 9241 Franklin Drive.
Thank you.
My biggest concern is the noise factor. 60 by 40, no sidewalls, noise is going to carry and everything. And he said he was going to have parties and everything, and that's just my consideration. The town doesn't have as large a facilities as this. So this could be a pretty good party going on. And it's going to be a permanent structure, even though, there's no walls. So this could be going on every week. I know not in the wintertime, but I'm just worried about the noise and, also, what about, the congestion for parking and stuff too? I mean, that's probably something the town would have to consider. If you have a structure that can accommodate 100 people, where are cars gonna park too? But anyway, all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time.
As right now, start a motion on a negative review.
So, Mr. Hobbs, I would suggest that you make a motion to deny the requested variance and cite perhaps the provisions of the findings of fact that were provided to the members earlier as the, as basically the findings as to the motion to deny the requested variance.
I'll start the motion to deny requested. What was that? Variances to the ordinance and the facts that were presented to us.
I'll second.
You're gonna deny, so we'll talk.
I have a motion and a second.
All those in favor, this is something that, yeah,
All those
Mr.
in
Chair.
favor?
Aye.
Deny the variance?
Aye.
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 Okay, Mr. Chair, I think it's a 3-0 vote, which
Zero?
is action taken by the BZA to deny the request.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Oh, outside.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Want me to go through the technical findings now?
No. So, Mr. Chair, that, I think Mr. Hobbs made a sufficient reference to those facts for the basis of denial. Generally speaking, when approving a variance, it's necessary to cite the specific items of fact in support of that motion. When denying a variance, you can simply find that the applicant has failed to demonstrate each of those items that are required to be shown by the applicant and established to support that. So
Okay.
I think we're okay with that.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to C. 2024-07A, special exception. From STJMC 24-193, ET, SEQ, STJMC 24-45 to allow a drive-in restaurant use within the US 41 overlay district at 8455 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana. Grit and Grind LLC applicant James Us, DVG.
Good evening.
I'll now open this
I
to
would probably say
public hearing.
you could choose 3.
I think we're doing discussion before public hearing, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair, so this is the applicant who would normally give a short presentation, and after the completion of that presentation, then you could open the floor to public hearing at that time, yes. So,
Thank you very much. My name is James House of DVG team. I'm here representing my client Grit and Grind LLC and inform the board and petition the board for a special exception to allow a drive-through. The property is 8455 Wicker Avenue. The parcel is currently vacant land and has been for as long as I can remember. To the north is the Hands-On Car Wash, and which was built in 2008 or thereabouts, and to the south is a Speedway gas station. This is directly across the southernmost parking lot for Lake Central High School on the east side of 41. The parcel is just under 1 acre in size. It is currently Zone C2 and within the US 41 Overlay District, which is key for why we're here tonight. The bordering parcels north and south are Zone C2. To the rear or the east is zoned R3 PUD. I don't believe anything is sitting on those specific lots. That's the Dancing Waters Townhomes. Across US 41 is Zone C2, although Lake Central's parking lot effectively makes it a P zoning. Our client is proposing to build a Scooter's Coffee location. The name may be unfamiliar to you, but Scooter's Coffee is actually a very well-established brand. It was founded in Nebraska in 1998. Actually has over 800 locations throughout the United States. Geographically, their closest current locations related to St. John are Aurora, Illinois, and out in the South Bend or Elkhart area. It is a franchise business. Our client is very interested in growing the brand's presence in the Northwest Indiana market. Little bit about them, which relates to the the special exception request. Scooters is derived from allowing their customers to scoot in and scoot out. Their stores are exclusively drive-through only. There is no walk-up or inside ordering, and that's really what brings us here tonight. So we are here to request a special exception per the overlay district requirements to allow that drive-through. But I did want to bring up a few things in regard to the drive-through. Obviously, it's a special exception for a reason. The town wants to control traffic on and off US 41, possible queuing concerns. That is all very, very understandable. But I would touch on a couple things that I would hope leans the board in favor of this special exception. Is one, the business is not proposing a new driveway onto US 41. They will be developing an easement with the hands-on car wash. So that driveway will remain. There will be no new access onto US 41. Coffee locations their peak hours are in the mornings. US 41 traffic is very directional. It's anywhere from 20 to 60% greater traffic heading northbound in the morning, which means that northbound traffic will be making the easier right turn in and right turn out should they want to come to this establishment to pick up a caffeinated drink in the morning. To give you an idea of the traffic the stores experience, national average is only 21 peak hour, 21 vehicles per hour. Their nationwide recorded peak is only 28. For reference, that's only one vehicle at most every 2 to 3 minutes. From a queuing perspective, the site itself, as you can see, we've laid out the cars, can handle and store 17 vehicles on their site without creating any issue backing up onto the car wash and potentially 41.
Those number include the several thousand students pulling into Lake Central in the morning that will be utilizing that light that's right there at the car wash.
When I speak to queuing, I only speak to people that are coming into this business, not necessarily at the traffic light.
Right, but they will be pulling out into traffic where it's already backed up at the high school,
Going north and south.
going north and south.
It could very well do that.
Buses, student drivers, so on and so forth. I mean, I had children go there and I witnessed it, where it's backed up to almost a Bingo Lake Road sometimes in the morning with bus traffic and vehicles.
Yeah, I guess
Just morning peak hours for coffee, am I correct?
it certainly spans it, yes. I guess while it might be difficult to enter or exit site, I think that would be more of a business problem, and obviously our client is interested in developing this property.
But it also could
That'd be a
problem
traffic
for the
traffic
drivers
problem
of
for the school.
At the high school, right? Young student drivers.
In theory, yes.
Okay, that's all I just wanted to say.
And I obviously have more to say if we get past this special exception, but I think for the purposes that we're in a public hearing for the special exception, I won't go into those at this time.
I have a question for the attorney. And I think that the next development variance is also for this exact building, am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, item C is what's referred to as a special exception, which is different than item D, which is the variance from the development standards. So it's two different
But it
requests.
applies to the same property.
Same property, yes, that's correct. And I would add that for item C, which is the item before the board at this time, the board will consider a recommendation to the town council. This is not a decision where the final decision rests with the Board of Zoning Appeals, as it is for development variances. This is a special exception whereby the board will vote to make a recommendation, whether it's a favorable recommendation, an unfavorable recommendation, or no recommendation to the town council, who will have final say.
Similar to some of the items on last month's agenda.
Yes, yes.
Do you have anything else on this matter, James?
Not unless we receive a favorable recommendation, then we can talk about development variances.
And,
Right.
and Mr. Chair, we still need to have, if the public hearing
Public
has been
hearing,
opened,
correct.
I'm not sure if it was opened.
I think it was.
Yeah, I don't recall, but we need to have the public hearing.
Well, we'll open it this time to public hearing.
Carl McClusack, 8553 Larkspur Terrace, St. John. Two questions, really. First of all, I see a proposed building, something FFE or whatever. What's that going to be?
It will be a drive-through coffee. No walk-up service.
Well, what's the building that you're proposing, which I believe is the hash marks?
The proposed building?
That's a drive-up coffee stand.
That's the drive-up. Well, what's the proposed building?
That's it right there.
Well, that's the building, and then the drive-through wraps around it. The white color is the asphalt that will be for the parking lot.
Oh, that's the handicap parking?
But
Because
this
I
is
see
the
a little
handicap
wheelchair
parking there.
next to it.
Yeah, that's the handicap parking there, and then that's the
To
drive-through
my
lane.
understanding, sir, this is drive-up only. There is no entering the building.
Okay, so the proposed, I took it as something different. Okay. Do they have an agreement with the car wash people to use the same exit and egress?
Yeah, the property is under contract, so yes, they will not be asking for a driveway. They will be using the car washes.
Huh?
They will be using the car wash's driveway.
Okay.
There will be no new one.
All right, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close public hearing at this time.
Start a
Anybody
motion?
wanna Make a recommendation.
Yes, so again, Mr. Chair, it would be, the consideration is a motion to either make a favorable recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation or no recommendation to the town council. So the action to be taken would be a motion made, possibly seconded, and then a vote on that motion.
And I cannot make that motion, correct?
Right.
As chair of the meeting, under Robert's rules, it requires Mr. Hobbs or Mr. Gill to make the motion. Because there are only three of you tonight, it's going to require unanimous vote either way, because it takes 3 out of 5, irrespective of the number of persons attending, so.
3 out of 5 for,
A motion to pass out of the board tonight.
so it requires a unanimous
It
to
does.
go for a favorable.
Either, any motion that's made, any motion tonight that's made tonight requires 3 votes to pass the motion.
Understood. Given the, given that we are short on the board seats tonight, what is the timeline of when reconsideration could happen?
So, Mr. Chair, I believe the question is if there's well, first of all, this is a recommendation to the town council. Assuming the town council were to deny the special exception, I believe that there's in the rules, there's a 12-month period of time that has to basically pass before an applicant can make a similar request for the same exception or variance that's being sought, so.
But that's if it's per se not approved by the town council.
That's what I said, assuming the town council takes that action. That's not something,
So that's
It's
not
going to
12
happen
months from
tonight.
what we propose here, that's on the decision by the town council.
If I could ask, everybody's been very, very fair and nice, I don't mean to presume anything. If we did receive an unfavorable recommendation, could we then pull the request from town council and come again with a 5-person BZA? Or, I just wasn't expecting a short.
No, Mr. Chair, I think the applicant's asking if for some reason the motion is made for an unfavorable recommendation, can he then come back later to make the same request with a 5-member board? In my opinion, if the applicant wants to withdraw the application tonight, or defer it, not really withdraw it. Withdrawal means that it's being essentially terminated.
Correct.
But if he's asking that it be deferred to next month's meeting, that's a consideration that the the chair and the members can take up is to say, well, we'll defer this to next month so that the full board can consider it. That is one option that is
So all
available.
5 members are potentially present.
Right, but that requires the applicant to make that request for the deferral and that to be accepted by the members of the BZA.
But I appreciate that information. I don't have direction to do that, so I would,
Want to
we
proceed forward?
we will proceed. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Gill, Mr. Hobbs, you guys have a favorable or unfavorable recommendation?
I'd personally like to start a motion or a recommendation for no suggestion at this current point.
Okay, so I think, Mr. Hobbs, if I may, you're making a motion to advance the special exception request to the town council with no recommendation.
That is correct.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Everyone in favor, say aye.
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 Yep.
I think we have 3 ayes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, so this advances, this is action taken by the BZA to forward the proposal to the town council with no
No
recommendation.
recommendation.
That's correct.
Okay. Good to go. All right. D, 2024-07B, development variance from STJMC 24-345A, STJMC 24-346, STJMC 24-346-1, STJMC 24-346-4, STJMC 24-346-5, STJMC 24-347B1, STJMC 24-347B2, STJMC 24-354, STJMC 24-525A1 and 2, STJMC 24-525C1, STJMC 24-525D, STJMC 24-555B4A, STJMC 24-555E1A, STJMC 24-555 E1A, I'm sorry, I skipped a line there, STJMC 24-516B, STJMC 24-355A1, STJMC 24-355A2, STJMC 24-351-3, and STJMC 24-12 to allow a parcel that is 0.93 acres, which is 1.07 acres less than the 2-acre minimum within the US 41 overlay district. To allow the parcel's longest property access to be perpendicular to the adjoining highway rather than parallel as required in the US 41 overlay district. To allow the parcel to not comply with the frontage road setbacks and outlot buildings, illustration that is desired within the US 41 overlay district. To allow a parcel within US 41 overlay district that's width is not equal to or more than the amount, which is 1/2 the depth of the parcel. To allow the gross floor area of the primary building to be approximately 664 square feet, which is approximately 14,336 square feet less than the minimum gross floor area required. To allow no pedestrian access to be provided from the street to the building's primary entrance as required within the US 41 overlay district. For there to be no bicycle parking area provided as required within the US 41 overlay district. To allow a parcel to not have a frontage road system that provides access roads to contiguous tracts as required within the US 41 overlay district. To allow an approximate 21-foot wide green belt, which is 9 foot less than what is required. To allow a smaller planting area along building facades that face US Highway 41 to vary from what are required plantings within parking lots due to the minimal parking that is required for the size of this particular building, leaving no islands within the parking areas and no recognizable parking lot. To allow directional signs that are 4 square feet each, which is 2 square feet greater than what is permitted, to allow a gross combined area of all permanent ground, wall, and window signs of 272 square feet, which is 172 square feet larger than what is permitted. To allow the area of a permanent ground sign to be 51 square feet, which is 21 square feet larger than what is permitted. To allow the total square footage of all wall signs to exceed the lineal feet of frontage of a business, to allow a total of 10 permanent signs, which is 8 more than what is permitted. To allow a total of 9 wall signs, which is 7 more than what is permitted. To allow the proposal monument sign to be 12 feet above curb level, which is 2 feet higher than what is permitted. To allow the refuse storage structure to be of similar color and appearance to the principal building, but of a different material type. To allow for a refuse storage structure to be fully enclosed but without a roof. To allow a refuse storage to be made of different materials at the principal building. To allow the principal building to only have 4 corners rather than the 8 that is required within the US 41 overlay district. And to allow directional signs that include advertising, copy, logos, and verbiage other than exit, entrance, or parking information at 8455 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana. Grit and Grind LLC, applicant James Huss, DVG agent.
Thank you very much. That was understandably a lot. I appreciate that. So if, obviously a lot of what we were requesting, I'll kind of, because I know that was a lot, I'll try to maybe not address each one of those in order, but kind of group them together if that's okay. Many of the first variances we requested are very specific to the US 41 overlay district. For instance, the 41 overlay district has a 2-acre minimum tract size. This platted lot, which is previously platted, was platted prior to the creation of the overlay district, is 0.93 acres. But that being said, we still have to apply for the variance because the code is what it is today. That variance is something that any business that wanted any use of this property would have to come before the town's BZA and ask for. So in order to develop and become conforming, we have to ask for that variance. The same story with the parcel's longest access needs to be parallel to the highway. This lot existed before the overlay district and it is non-compliant. Anybody that came before the town wanting to develop this lot would need to ask for that. Similarly, the parcel width, it just isn't equal or greater to this lot's depth. The parcel is not served by a frontage road system. There is existing development north and south that do not have frontage roads, and there obviously is not a room to make one on a less than 1 acre lot. Similarly, gross floor area, we are greatly underneath the 15,000 square foot minimum that's determined by the overlay district. If you were to build a 15,000 square foot building on this property, we would be coming back to you asking for a parking variance instead. So that's almost a required variance based upon the rules of the overlay district on a previously platted lot. Those are, I guess, kind of what I would refer to as must grant variances in order to develop this property. Now, some of the, in my opinion, would be still required variances, but rather minor. We talked about the refuse structure. Roofed dumpster enclosures, great difficulty with garbage trucks. They are requesting that this one doesn't have a roof, but the 41 overlay district, that one is a requirement. I know we've had some developments in the overlay district that were granted that variance in the past, so that's one we are requesting tonight. In terms of architectural compatibility of the dumpster enclosure, John, if you could scroll down to those. So you see the building is primarily glass, siding, and EIFS. And then if you keep going, we are proposing a dumpster enclosure that is painted CMU. I hope you'll agree with me that while it is not in terms of exactly like materials, the color scheme is very similar. And depending on who you ask, could be determined to be architecturally compatible. So we'd be requesting a variance on that. 41 overlay district requires 8 external corners for a building. Obviously, this is a very petite building. The brand standard is rectangular. They do have some kind of like runners in the rear of the building, but I mean, I don't think I'd classify that as a new corner, so we're asking for that variance as well. This business does not provide bicycle parking. Well, we're asking for that variance because this business only operates through drive-through. There would be no reason to have a bicyclist. They wouldn't be served by this establishment. I hope I received them all, but if I could keep going on the landscaping variances we request, I'd first point out that we fully intend to provide a landscaping plan that meets every other requirement of the town, but there are a few sticking points that more geometrically than anything we cannot meet based on the site plan that you saw earlier. We are asking for a green belt reduction by about 30%. Our building meets the required front yard setback in the overlay district, but with the dual drive-through, we do encroach on the green belt, so we're asking for that exception. The front building landscaping, by the code's calculation, we need 950 square feet of landscaping in front of our building. Outside of the green belt, there's only 600 square feet of turf area, which then would become landscaping that's available. So geometrically, we can't meet that, and we're asking for a variance on that. We touched on interior parking lot landscaping. This is a very small building. It only requires 9 parking spots to meet the town's ordinance, which we are providing, yet the only people that will park here are employees, and that number comes out to 5 or 6. Because of that, we really don't have a parking lot per se, and thus cannot provide interior parking lot landscaping. So that's why we're asking for that variance. If I could touch on the signage, which is the most gray area. First and foremost, we're asking for, so it's a very small building. It does have a rather extensive signing, I guess, brand standard, I would call it. The code only allows 2 permitted signs. While we are requesting 10, and that seems like a shocking number, I understand that. 6 of those signs are are almost like posters on what would be the north and south face of the building itself. They would not be gaudy, in-your-face lit signs or anything like that. Some of the other variances you enumerated when you read through things, we're asking for a variance on the definition of a directional sign in that Scooter's brand standard does have a very small, if you could scroll down, keep going. They have a almost like a medallion. That's the monument sign. Keep going, please. There you can see it right there. They have their directional signs, and they do have a very, very abbreviated, miniaturized brand logo above it. So that would be a variance we are asking for. And then I probably shouldn't say this, but as far as the monument sign, we're asking for a variance on height. It's a very small amount we exceed it by. If that was something the BZA didn't agree with, I'm sure we could go back to the brand and find a smaller version. I know I kind of breezed through those, but I also know we have a lot. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about any of the specific ordinances one by one. And I'd also, if I could touch on, I know we're not Plan Commission here, but the reason we're asking for these variances before, say, going for a Plan Commission study session is because should that special exception get approved, and most of these variants get approved, the site itself, the building is very small. We know we can meet the rest of the town's requirements. So that's kind of why we're a little bit out of order here.
You guys have any questions? All All right, at this time, I'm gonna open up the public hearing. I personally think you're opening up Pandora's box. If I remember correctly, the high school had to remove their sign when they rebuilt due to being too large. Years back.
I think the illuminated one, I believe, yeah.
Sign for the high school. I think you just opened up Pandora's box with as much as they're asking for, unfortunately. Mr. Hobbs, do you guys want to?
Mr. Chair, I would
Close
formally
the-
close ask one more time if there's any public comment, and then close public hearing.
Okay.
Without jumping to conclusions with regards to signs, because I do realize it is an ask, what I would request the board, if it is acceptable, can we pull all signage related variances from the request with the exception of the additional sign, the 3 signs? Because that is the one that has been granted to other businesses within the overlay district and is most important to our client. So I don't mean to sound like I'm negotiating, but I'd more just delete than.
So, Mr. Chair, I would offer this. I think the applicant is requesting that he be allowed to withdraw certain elements of the variance request this evening specific to the signage. That's allowed. The applicant can make that withdrawal. It leaves several other variance items that would still need to be considered. And the Board of Zoning Appeals can impose any reasonable conditions or contingencies in any action that it takes to consider the variance request. So I would want to make clear on the record what specifically or what specific items are being withdrawn, if that's the applicant's intention at this point.
Would it be easier if I cite the code section and give you the only one I want to remain? I can do both.
No, I just think we need to make a clear record of what you're asking to withdraw at this time.
I should recite them now then?
You need to recite them in the public record at this,
Okay.
at this time.
I would like to withdraw our variance request for section 24-555- and B4A, 24-555E1A. That covers 2 of them. Remove the one from 24-555E1C. The one that will remain is 24-555E2A. We will remove 24-555E2C and 24-555E5A.
And Mr. Huss, so 24-555E2A, which remains, what specifically are you requesting, or what does that variance address?
My apologies, good. I appreciate you catching that. We would then not be requesting the 10 permanent signs, we would only be requesting 3. 1 additional per the code.
And that's pursuant to St. John Code 24-555E2A?
Correct.
So, Mr. Chair, as I understand the withdrawal made by the applicant this evening, essentially all of the signage requests have been withdrawn with the exception of the request for the variance to allow 3 permanent signs, which is 1 more than what is permitted pursuant to the zoning ordinance. Also remaining for consideration of the variance are all of the remaining items having to do with everything other than signage.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to say to the public hearing?
I'm just with with Hands On Car Wash. I was just, my only.
Sir, can you please come to the podium, state your
All right,
name
take it.
and your address?
Keep
Thank
it
you.
easy. Ed Miller, Hands On Car Wash, 8445 Wicker Avenue. My only two questions are really the sign, where it's going, how big, like, blocking us, like coming in and out of our entrance, things of that nature, because, we got people coming in and out all the time where don't want accidents coming and blocking us. And the dumpster, is it going to go on the north side of the building, of your building, or is it going to go on the south side? We'd prefer if it went on the south side, being us, but it's the only two things I had. Thank you.
John, can you scroll back up to the site plan, please? Yeah, we are showing the dumpster on the south side, away from that business. And while we have not located any future monument sign, I'm sure we would take that into consideration as far as where it's placed.
Anybody else on the public hearing? Okay, at this time, I'm gonna close public hearing. Mr. Gill, Mr. Hobbs, you guys have a,
I'll hand this one to Mr. Gill.
what's that?
I'll make a motion to approve all the variances with the exceptions of the ones withdrawn and limiting the permanent signs to 3. And the findings of facts, the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, and that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, everybody in favor of to approve the variance? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, move to number 6, new and old business. E, 2024-03, resolution 2024-01. Consider resolution to approve and readopt the rules and regulations of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Adam Decker, Board Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, in your packet are the updated rules and regulations for the Board of Zoning Appeals. I made a couple of changes simply to reflect the new meeting night. There's a new meeting when the meeting's being held, and that's reflected in the document. And it also brings up to date the notice requirements for publication for public hearings. About 4 years ago in 2020, those were updated to essentially require that the notice be published 10 days in advance of the hearing in 2 newspapers, one time, and that was a change that was made at that time. That's been incorporated into these updated rules and regulations. So essentially, it's a motion to be considered to approve the updated rules and regulations.
Okay. Mr. Gill, you guys want to make a
I'll make a motion to approve the updated rules and regulations of the BZA.
second? Mr. Hobbs?
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion to consider the 2024-03 resolution 2024-01 by Board Attorney Adam Decker. Number 7, at this time I'm going to open it up to public comment. Anybody have any public comment? Okay. Looks like we